Hello my dudes, I just wanted to record this video because obviously you guys are probably looking forward to an update in terms of my college situation, and I got a lot of questions in the comments of that video and in messages and stuff, and I kind of wanted to address some of that. Before I get started, I want to say the biggest thank you to everyone who even just left a supportive comment or has messaged me or shared my GoFundMe or donated to the GoFundMe. It's absolutely mind-blowing how supportive you guys are and how generous you would be, even though so many of you are college students yourselves and you're struggling. To even just donate $5 or $10 is so sweet of you, and I appreciate it so much. The fundraiser has actually raised over $3,000, and then I did get a little bit of money in merch sales as well, but that's just, it's unbelievable, and I could never express in a video how thankful I am to have viewers like you who would be willing to support me in that way. So collectively, my subscribers have just created a $3,000 scholarship for me. So that is going to, my college fund, and it'll be used for tuition costs when I do end up making a decision of what the hell I'm gonna do next. So I am going to make a video about all of my financial aid packages that I received from every school. Spoiler alert, I got my package from NYU, and it is unfortunately 200% unaffordable, like absolutely ridiculous, worse than I expected, just impossible. So obviously it's a bummer to not be able to go to NYU, but I have to consider, even just scraping by to pay tuition costs, I still have to be able to pay living expenses. So if tuition is like $40,000 out of my budget each year, I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think any school at this point is worth taking out that much in loans. Even if that were possible, I don't think it'd be possible for me to get approved for that much money in loans. But anyway, I'll tell you guys the specifics in another video, but it's a lot. I am waiting to hear back from ASU because I did apply to ASU online and I got in, so I'm waiting to hear back about my financial aid from them. So when that comes through, I will be able to make the video giving all 12 out of 12 now college financial aid offers. It's exhausting. Anyway, today's video, I just kind of wanted to explain some choices that I've made, because a lot of people were wondering, why would you apply to a bunch of expensive private schools if you know that you're low income? And it's complicated, but just believe me, if you haven't been listening to my podcast or something, you wouldn't know all of this because it's a lot of information, but I have explored every avenue, and it's been such a long process even for me to just get through these 2 years of college. So people are like, oh, obviously just go to a state school in your home state. I know that that would be the most affordable option, but sometimes, what's the most practical or affordable isn't what's best. And especially in my life, I haven't really been settled down for longer than 6 months or a year in the past few years, and I feel like I'm always floating, and it's a really exhausting position to be in, but also I'm incredibly lucky to have lived in as many places as I have since, leaving my hometown, and I'm lucky to be able to do that, but it's tough, and it makes this decision making so much more difficult. But anyway, long story short, why don't I go to a public university like a UC or a Cal State in California? I am still considered a California resident for tuition purposes, but I tried that last year, guys. Do you remember? Last year I was ready to go back to California, but everything fell through. I don't know if it's a combination of transfer credits, not applying for requirements, so maybe just getting rejected automatically for not fitting their exact requirements, but also I think UCs and Cal States have very strict transfer, priority, and I think they definitely prioritize, rightfully so, California community college students. So even though I am a California resident, I was technically transferring from an out-of-state school, and I think that would make me like a pretty low priority transfer student, unfortunately. So yeah, to answer that question briefly, the only way I would be able to transfer to a Cal State or a UC would be to go back to California and go to a community college for a semester or a year and do the entire application process over again. So that would be the most affordable option if that's what I wanted to do. My little brother is actually going to UC Santa Barbara, and he got really great financial aid, so his tuition is covered and some of his room and board costs are covered, and he's paying for the rest just in his own loans. So that's really amazing. But also, I'm not in a point in life, due to a lot of things, but mostly my relationship, where I want to be in California, and I'll get into that a little bit, and some people may judge me for that decision, but like, that's the hard thing about making videos like this about my life and my choices, is like, I share them half for me to document like my own experiences, because I like to be able to look back on different things, but also I share them just because sometimes people find value in other people's experiences. So it's tough, you know, sometimes I'll make a video and just say, this is what happened to me. That's it. I'm not looking for people to judge me and tell me exactly what I did wrong, because most likely I already know that. I'm just sharing it, and you know, I completely know that where I am right now is a product of my own choices, but it just doesn't help to have strangers who don't know the whole story telling me what I should have done, you know? But that's what happens when you put yourself on YouTube. So that rules out California. And then in terms of New York, I moved to New York technically officially last November, which means I would not qualify as a New York state resident for the tuition purposes and be able to get TAP or, you know, any in-state tuition until November of 2018, which I don't think would help me until maybe spring semester of 2019, or maybe even the next fall. So that wasn't very useful. So there was really no point in me applying to New York State schools either, which also I'm sure prioritize New York students. Which is why I was pretty much left to apply to private schools, which, yes, I applied to a lot of more expensive ones, but I was looking mainly in LA, New York, and then a few abroad, which I know are expensive cities, and I know these are expensive schools for the most part, but like, these were the places that I feel like I wanted to go to school possibly, and like, some people would argue that I shouldn't do that, but like, I'm not going to go to college and spend the next 2 years somewhere where I don't want to be or where I don't have loved ones. So that's why I chose those places. But these private schools, as far as my understanding goes, yes, the tuition is more expensive, but sometimes private schools can be surprising and give out really generous financial aid, and sometimes net price calculators can't predict that. So basically I was just taking a risk with all of these schools and going, well, there's no convenient or simple place for me to go this year. I might as well apply to these schools and see what happens. So I did that and I got in, but as we all know, the financial aid was not affordable enough to me. I really am not in a position where I can take out $10,000 to $15,000 each year in loans, you know, for the next 2 years just to cover tuition, let alone living expenses, on top of my already $20-something thousand in student loans. You know, some people would say education's an investment, it's worth it, but I can only take out my max loans. I'm not going to be asking my parents to take out any more Parent Plus loans. So, you know, my limits are $6,500 or $7,000 a year in my own loans, which is still a big amount of money each year to be taking out. So that's a serious decision, and it's not something that I want to rush into, especially if it's not a great situation that I'm sure that I can get through, you know, living in any of these cities or committing to going to any of these schools for the next 2 years. I'm really sweaty because I've tried to film this video so many times, and I'm trying to not make it too long, but it's kind of exhausting. Anyway, yeah, it's tough. It's kind of like I don't belong anywhere at this point, and it's hard for me You know, yes, I could go back to California, but I'm not in a point where I want to be here for college. My boyfriend is English. I met him last year. I decided to move to New York so that we could live together, and it's been the most amazing experience. And, you know, I'm just like, I'm in the best, happiest, healthiest relationship of my life, and I'm so in love. And, you know, some people would say that, you know, somebody this young shouldn't make decisions based on a relationship, but this is not just like a trivial boyfriend, you know, and I wouldn't be making any of these decisions if I didn't think they were good for me. But anyway, it does make it very complicated because his visa actually ends this October, and that means he has to go back to England. We just found out like 2 days ago that he did not get the visa that he applied for. So he has to leave the country, and now we're really trying to figure out, you know, what's next in our future. Obviously we're going to stay together, but long distance is tough, and especially if I were to go back to California. California to England is kind of a very, very scary situation of a long distance relationship. So I'm trying to figure out if it's possible for me to, you know, finish school abroad, but ideally I'd be able to transfer some of my credits, and it gets really complicated with you know, French or European schools because they have a 3-year bachelor's, and American schools have a 4-year bachelor, and it's never guaranteed that they would accept international credits. So I'm like, what should I do? But yes, I have considered that. French public universities are free for bachelors, for everyone, even international students. So that's definitely a tempting offer. But again, I would have to deal with, you know, possibly taking a lot of courses in French, which I'm very rusty at, and having no idea whether they would accept any of my transfer credits. I'm also considering England, or honestly anywhere else in Europe, but again, that could mean an entire other year of doing the application process over again, and then dealing with immigration and student visas, and still, you know, needing to find funds to cover living expenses and tuition and stuff. So it's complicated, guys. It's complicated. I'm not here for sympathy. I'm just here to share the experience and keep you guys updated. As I said, I will make the financial aid video as soon as I can, but that's where I'm at right now, and of course I'll keep you guys updated on any decisions I end up making. But, you know, life is wild. I know that I'm all over the place, but I trust in the fact that I am gaining a lot from these experiences, and I've definitely gained a lot from living in all of these different places. And it may not be simple, it may be complicated, it may be difficult, it may be expensive, but I think that eventually I will end up in a place that is right for me, and hopefully that place will be somewhere where Nathan can be with me, or I'll be with Nathan, and, you know, we can just continue living and vibing, and I'll finish my college degree sometime. Alright, I'm exhausted. Thank you guys for watching this whole thing. And stay tuned for more videos. Okay, thanks, bye!